I apologize for disappearing for so long, but I have a very good reason, okay? And that is that I have not been getting any sleep. Seriously, I was not prepared for how difficult this is going to be, but that's okay because, well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. So because I was gone for so long, I felt like the best way to come back would be to fill you in on everything that's been going on by doing a Q&A. That way you guys can ask me exactly what questions you want to know, and I'm going to answer them in today's video. So there are going to be some questions about like pregnancy, about like body changes, about how I've been coping with this new role in my life, which is being a mother. But yeah, so sit tight and let's get to it. Okay, so a lot of people have been wanting to know how labor was and if I filmed it. So no, I did not film my labor. I knew that I wasn't going to be making a video anyway, not for the internet at least, but I did take a camera just in case because I was like, well, maybe this is something that I'll want to look back on. Like maybe, I feel like I have the typical memory that creates a lot of holes, and so a lot of the times I forget really amazing things that I might want to look back on. So I took a camera and everything, and apparently you cannot film at the hospital that I was at. They told me that I could film a little bit before and everything, but during the actual process of delivery, they would not allow me to have a camera, which is insane because what? I feel like so many people want to record that. So I'm actually pretty thankful for the fact that I didn't care that much, you know? So it was fine. As for like how my labor was, it was very fucking long. It's a very long story. I feel like maybe I'll just make a separate video about it, but just know that it was very long, very stressful, pretty traumatic to be honest, because of how long labor was. And it's true what they say. It's painful. It's very, very painful. I unfortunately was not able to deliver naturally or vaginally, I guess. I ended up having to have a C-section, but I did push for 3 hours. And man, it's very weird, and like contractions are the worst thing I've ever experienced in my whole life. And I have broken bones, but contractions are so much worse. I seriously never want to go through that again. Like ever. Which leads me to my next question that a lot of you guys have been asking, and it is whether or not I want to have another baby now that I've had one. And to be honest, I've never really cared to have a big family. I don't come from a very big family myself. It's just me and my sister. And for a while I did think like, oh yeah, 2 seems like a good number, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to be pregnant again. I don't know if I want to go through labor again. So I don't think I'm going to. Plus, you know, having 1 kid is already hard enough. I can't even imagine going through all of this again, but then have a toddler running around, you know? So maybe my mind will change in the future, but as of right now, no, I think I'm going to stop at Ollie. Ollie is amazing, my son, Oliver. And that's it. That's it for me. So this question is very interesting, and I feel like people do not talk about it because it's not a pretty thing to talk about. But I feel like for the sake of everyone else, and this is something that I wish that I had heard about because I think I would have felt less insane. And so the question is, let me grab it again. Do you think that your relationship with Lucy changed after having your little one? Yeah, it definitely does change. In the beginning, again, maybe I am the only person that has felt this, but I kind of doubt it. It's very hard as a mother that breastfeeds to not feel a little bit of resentment towards your partner, because most of the time the baby is so dependent on you that you're the one that has to sacrifice sleep way more than your husband does or your partner does. And that, when you're feeling very exhausted and very overwhelmed, can get to you and can lead to resentment. It is something that I had to work on myself, because how can I resent him for not having a boob? You know what I mean? Like, I'm the one that wants to breastfeed. So it's obvious that I'm gonna be the one taking on the slightly bigger load, and that's my choice. Obviously he can help, and he does help with whatever ways that he can, but he can't replace these. You know, that is something that I dealt with a lot, especially in the beginning. And it took me a while to kind of come to terms with the fact that the load was going to be more on me, and that it's fine. It's obviously okay to feel like a bit, you know, overwhelmed and stressed and all of that. Whatever feelings that you feel are totally valid, but just know that you can work through certain things, because resentment is not a nice feeling to feel, especially towards your partner. So if you have the ability to, or the funds to be able to hire a therapist in the beginning while you have your baby, I highly recommend it for various reasons, not only just for that, but a lot of people deal with like postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. Anxiety is definitely something that I dealt with because I already had anxiety to begin with. But yeah, having a therapist to just at least talk things over with, I think is super, super important. And if you cannot afford something like that, which I don't blame you, I mean, having a baby is already expensive as is, at least try to find someone that you can confidently express these emotions with, because it sucks to leave it bottled in. It's just going to like eat at you. And so just let that out. You know what I mean? Just let it out every once in a while. Allow yourself to vent. Maybe not to the person that's pissing you off, because the way you're gonna vent is going to be a little bit destructive, but if you can find someone else, do it. What's the thing that scares you the most about motherhood? I think the thing that scares me the most is how much I love my son and how worried I always am about his well-being, especially in the beginning. As I was saying before, like I dealt with a lot of anxiety in the sense that so when he first came home, my mom helped us out, bless her. It was super, super helpful. And so what we would do is we would take like 3-hour shifts at night so that he was always being watched. And then when my mom left, because obviously she couldn't be with us forever, I dealt with a lot of anxiety because I was so scared of going to sleep and no one watching over my son, and like something may be happening to him in the middle of the night and I wouldn't be awake to be able to like tend to him quick enough. So that has been something that has been really difficult for me, is just I'm always so concerned about his well-being. I feel like this is just the start of my new life. I'm always going to be worrying about him. Apparently, yeah, that lingers. That goes on forever. My mom says that it never ends, which is fabulous. Although I guess another way of looking at it is like how lucky I am to have someone that is worth worrying that much about, you know? A little spin on that. So there you go. So a lot of people also wanted to know if I miss my old life. And the short answer is no. Honestly, not at all. I can miss some aspects of it. Like I do miss being able to sleep for longer periods of time, because the longest I've ever gone has been 3 hours in one stretch, and that doesn't happen every single night. So yeah, there are like little aspects and stuff like that, but I do not miss my life as a whole from before. I think that the moment that my son was born, it was as if my life had a new meaning. I don't even know how to explain it, but it is something that I've heard so many mothers and fathers and parents in general just talking about, is the fact that having a child it really puts everything into perspective, and it just makes you realize what's actually important in life. And yeah, I feel like I have this purpose now. It's really weird, but also really, really cool. What was the question though? Hold on. Oh yeah, so if I missed anything from before, no, not at all. I also think that I had a baby at the perfect time, you know, like I've had so many experiences already prior to becoming a mother. I've traveled a lot. I've done a lot of stupid shit. I've done it all. You know what I mean? Like there was nothing that was on my bucket list, let's say, that I didn't cross off before becoming a mom. And so therefore I think that the transition just felt very natural. But I think that even if there was something that I didn't do prior to becoming a mom, you know, who's to say that I can't do it now? You know, I think just because you become a mom doesn't mean that your life stops completely. I mean, obviously the way that you plan things becomes a little bit different, but I still think that you're able to do pretty much anything that you would have been able to before becoming a parent. I mean, if that's what you choose to do. I personally wouldn't do a lot of the other things that I've done, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Okay, next question. Someone wanted to know how my third trimester was, and I do feel like I should probably do a video on the third trimester, just because I've done it on the first and the second, and that way I can just, you know, close that chapter in my life. But the short answer to that is I did not like the third trimester. I would actually say that the third trimester was the worst one for me. Granted, I didn't have that many terrible symptoms in the first, and then the second is generally pretty easy. But yeah, the third trimester, just being so big and like the struggles of like getting out of bed or like just getting around in general and like always feeling out of breath, I did not like that. Plus I was also just so excited to meet my son that I just felt like very impatient. So yeah, I didn't like it. Did not like it. A lot of people also have been asking me about my body and how it's changed and how I feel about the change or the changes. So yeah, obviously my body has changed. I now have a lovely giant scar right above my crotch, but to be honest, it's pretty crazy, but I love it. I think it's probably one of my favorite things about my body right now, which sounds insane. I know it sounds insane, but because when I look down there at my scar, it just gives me so much pride. Like it just makes me remember how awful that day was in terms of like pain and all of that, but the fact that I was able to push through and like the fact that that scar led to me meeting my baby, and therefore I have such an admiration for myself and for that scar. And I know that this sounds really insane because I remember when I would hear mothers talking about how much love they have for their body after they've had a baby, even with all of the changes and all of that, which most people would see as like negative changes, but how okay they were with it. And there really is something about becoming a mom that makes you care less about something as trivial as having a scar or like a stretch mark or something like that. I just feel like there are way more important things in life than how your body looks after having a baby. I mean, your body goes through a lot. Like obviously there are going to be changes. For instance, I have this new pooch, you know, I have this like new little belly kind of thing that just hangs there, and I'm pretty okay with it. I mean, yeah, it's not ideal necessarily. It doesn't look the same as it did before, but that's completely okay. I did carry a baby for 9 months, so we good. I also got a lot of questions about people wanting to know what the hardest thing about motherhood has been, and for me, the hardest thing has been breastfeeding. It is so much more difficult than people have made it out to seem. So basically, when you give birth, you usually are able to produce quite a bit of milk because you still have the hormones from pregnancy and from just giving birth and all of that. And so right after Ollie was born, I had like some huge jugs and I was feeling so good about it. I was like, wow, dude, look at my body go. Like that was not hard at all. And then like a month later, the hormones started, you know, decreasing, and so did my supply. And that was really difficult because I felt like such a failure. I felt like, God, my body is designed to be able to produce milk, to be able to feed my child, and I'm not even able to do that. The first time that I ever gave my son formula, I cried so much. It was really difficult to come to terms with the fact that I may not be able to breastfeed as much as I would like. I don't want to talk about it too much because I feel like I'm gonna cry, because that is literally the only thing that has made me like genuinely sad, is not really being able to produce as much milk as I would like. Because I think that I went into motherhood with the expectation of breastfeeding my child for 6 months to a year. That was my goal. And the fact that like my milk really sucks at the 2-month mark, like it's pretty bad, and knowing that maybe I won't make it for another month even, it's hard. But as they always say, fed is best. So if I, for whatever reason, cannot produce any milk anymore, then, you know, formula It exists for a reason. But I did see a lactation consultant yesterday, and she did give me quite a few tips and stuff like that. I've also been taking some like supplements, and I've been trying to pump more. So hopefully we will see an increase in my milk supply. I definitely have seen a little bit of it since I started pumping more and since I started taking these supplements. I don't want to mention the supplements just yet because I'm not really sure if it's necessarily due to that, and I haven't seen that big of a change anyway. So if I feel like I'm able to get my milk supply going again, like at a really good level, then I think that I'll actually make a video dedicated just on that. And then talk about the supplements that I'm taking, about like how I've been pumping and all that, all the things that I've been learning. But until I feel confident in my milk supply, I don't want to mention anything, just in case. Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't answer this question yet. But my first thought when I saw Ollie for the first time. So before I saw him, I heard him, and I didn't see him for like a few minutes. Actually, Luther was the first person to see him between the two of us. So I definitely feel like the first time I heard him was way more impactful than the first time that I saw him for some reason. I don't know why, but hearing his cry was the most amazing feeling I have ever felt in my life. Like hands down, that is my ultimate Patronus moment. I don't think I'll ever feel that way again. I can't even explain to you what that feels like, but I swear when I heard him cry, it felt like nothing else existed in the world. It felt like everything else was just pitch black, and it was just me and these cries. I know that that sounds insane, but it really felt like nothing else existed, nothing else mattered in the world. It was the most beautiful sensation ever. And then when I saw him for the first time, or actually before I even saw him, Luther was kind of like describing him a little bit to me. He was like, oh my God, he's perfectly healthy. He's so beautiful, and he has so much hair. So I was really looking out for that when I saw him for the first time. And then when they did like bring him around to show me, it was just like an instant love connection. It's amazing. Like, oh God, it really is. I can't even tell you just how much I love my son. He's the best. Okay, so you guys want to know about the name Oliver and how we came up with it. And that was a name that I brought to the table. So Luther gathered some names that he liked, I gathered some that I liked. And then the moment we told them to each other, we basically vetoed all of them except for Oliver. Oliver was like the only one that we both liked. It wasn't my like top pick either, but I kept repeating that name to myself, and sometimes I would like call him Oliver in my belly, and it just felt very right in a way. But I didn't want to say anything to Luther because I was just like, oh, maybe, you know, I don't know. I didn't want to jinx it or anything. So I would just like quietly whisper it to him and see how I felt. And I did. I liked it. I think another reason why I was kind of more attached to the name Oliver was just because it started with an O. And if you have watched my other videos, or if you've been following me for a while, then you know that I had this cat O'Malley that was basically like my first child. I loved that cat so much, and he required so much from us that it felt like it was like our child and wasn't just a cat. And his name was O'Malley, so it also started with an O. So the fact that Luther liked the name Oliver as well, that started with an O as well, just felt very, again, it felt right. So the fact that now my son is named Oliver, I just feel like it's like a very tiny little nod in my own head to my kitty that passed away right after I discovered that I was pregnant. So yeah, that is how we came up with Oliver. And now I look at him and he's Oliver. He's Ollie. Like, there's no other name for him. I don't know. It makes sense. I love the way that this question is formed. Does your child have your face or your husband's face? He is a freaking clone of my husband. The audacity that boy has to live in my belly for 9 months and then come out looking absolutely nothing like me. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Anyway, that is it for today's video. There are so many other questions. I'm sorry if I didn't answer yours. So if you do have any questions that you're just dying to know, I mean, are you really? But if you have any of those questions, then be sure to leave them down below and I'll just answer them there. And also if there are any like specific videos that you want to see from me that you still haven't seen, or videos for like things to do with like Ollie in the future, or whatever it is that you think that you want to see from me, do let me know, because I really want to come back to YouTube. I know that I always say that and then life gets in the way, but I genuinely do enjoy making content. It's just sometimes it's hard for me to find the time to be able to do it, but I'm going to try to commit a little more. Now that Ollie is a little bigger as well, it's easier for me to take some time away to just sit and record something. So yeah. All right. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye! Oh wait, no. You guys need to meet my son. One sec. Look at this sleepy baby. Look at this sleepy baby. I made this little thingy right here. This was living in my belly for so long, and now you're here. You're here, and look, he's so cute. Oh my god. He just woke up, so he's a little startled. Oh my gosh. Are you the best? Are you the best in the whole world? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I love you so much. You're so cute. Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Whoa, sleepy baby.